Hey guys, so in this lecture we are going to be talking something called as hoisting. Again, this is a concept that most developers blind see, but we want to talk about it in detail because it's very important to understand what hosting is. And believe it or not, but I was also asked an interview question on what hosting is, and at that point I did not have an answer. So I made sure that at least my students know what hosting is, so that if an interview question comes your way, you can easily respond to it. Hosting is JavaScript's default behavior of moving declarations to the top. Very simple. Let's try and see with an example. So let's have a variable x is equals to 5. Note, I have not done any declarations. I have just done an initialization. So I can say assigned value to x, which is initialization. Now let's create a p tag. Example. Let's close the p tag. Okay. Now let's get the element, which is document.get element by id and example. Now element.inner HTML is equals to x. Very straightforward. And the answer also got updated even without me declaring it. Variable x. Everything worked. So even if I declare the variable down there, x equals to 5 worked. What happens is internally JavaScript moves all the declarations to the top. It is as good as saying that this be here. Variable x and then x equals to. So that's how JavaScript works. To understand this, you have to understand the term hoisting. Hoisting is JavaScript's default behavior of moving all declarations to the top of the current scope, to the top of the current script, or to the top of the current function. Let's see another example. Let's say hosting 2. Let's partition it. Now let's say I have a variable a is equals to 5, variable b is equals to 10, and I just do a sum of it and put it into the, copy this. Let's create another tag as sum so that we can copy it, sum, and let's put this element here and let's do a plus b. This will very well work. There's no problem in here. But what if you move b down here, which means if you move here, it will fail. The answer will fail because a plus b and b is not available, and that's not a number after that, which means you're adding a 5 to some empty or undefined, and that's why you get an NaN. Now why does this happen? When variable x worked, why doesn't variable b equals to 10 work? Well, the answer is this becomes initialization, and hosting only moves declaration. So let's say if I just move variable b here, but I do a b is equals to 10, the answer will be 15. So this works because you declare out here, but you initialize out here. Now let me just copy it correctly so that when you refer to it, you know what you're doing. Initialization, declaration. Now does it make sense that b is undefined in the last example? A word of caution, always declare your variables at the top. So when you have variable x, a, b, in fact in all the examples that you would have seen me working, usually you do variable a, b, c, d, whatever variables you need, you just do it as a declaration up and then you can start using them. It's always easier that way as a developer. Now, hosting to many developers an unknown or overlooked behavior of JavaScript. If a developer doesn't understand hosting, programs may contain bugs. To avoid bugs, always declare all the variables at the beginning of every scope. Since this is how JavaScript interprets the code, it is always a good rule. Now, JavaScript also has something called as a strict mode, which we will talk in one of the future videos. Now, what happens is in JavaScript, if it is in the strict mode, it does not allow variables to be used if they are not declared, which means For now, initially when you saw x equals to 5 was used, even if I did not give variable x, it worked because JavaScript allowed it. But when you enable JavaScript in a strict mode, JavaScript will not allow declarations. So just be cautioned that you're not using a strict mode, and we will talk about strict mode in one of the future lectures.